and welcome or welcome back to my channel. You Are the One, where we talk all things law of assumption to help make your manifesting journey easier and more fun. You have no idea how many times I've actually done this introduction because I keep tripping over myself. Anyway, today we are talking about narcissism and how to break free of this dynamic if you find yourself in this dynamic in your specific relationship, because I know that this is something a lot of you are experiencing and using law of assumption to work with, and I want to help just make that process a little bit easier. So that's what we're doing today. Stick around. My name is Hedley Derenzie. I'm a qualified life coach and author specializing in law of assumption. If you would like to know more about me or my offerings, you can find those details in the box below this video or at my website, youaretheone.com.au. But we are just going to get straight into today's topic, which is narcissism and dealing with the character of the narcissist in your movie, if that's what you are dealing with, and how to free yourself of this dynamic. Many of you I know have come to these teachings because of a relationship and a specific person that you're working with. It hasn't gone well, or it's not going well, or you want to improve it. And a lot of you are dealing with characters of labeled the narcissist. And I'm going to explain why I'm putting that in air quotes. So let's just go back to the beginning. Regardless of what you're experiencing in your reality, it is coming from consciousness. The assumptions that you're holding in your subconscious that are getting pushed out and reflected back in your reality, including the characters that are showing up in your reality. Now, a lot of those assumptions are coming from childhood, are coming from when you were really young and you were not aware that this was how the game works, and you weren't even aware that these are the assumptions you're taking on. But that is what happened, and they have then become dominant. They're buried in your subconscious, and they are still active. So you're not wrong or at fault if you're creating a reality that's unfavorable, because you're not aware of the assumptions that are causing it. They have been there for a very long time. They were there without your conscious awareness. And that's also why it can be really confusing when you are in a situation where you're in relationship with somebody who appears to be a narcissist. That can be confusing because you're not sure where that's coming from. With the narcissist story, there's a couple of catches with this. The number one thing is, in order to change a story in your reality, you first have to acknowledge it. That's number one. You cannot change something that you cannot acknowledge or that you're in denial of. What happens is somebody is in a relationship and they're experiencing abusive behavior or unhealthy behavior. They might be in denial about that for some time, and then something brings them out of denial and they come to realize that, oh my God, I'm in relationship with a narcissist. Like, he is a narcissist or she is a narcissist. That's awesome that you've been able to identify the characteristics of the character that's showing up in your reality. However, that's not where this story ends. In fact, that's where this story begins, because in order to change a story, you have to acknowledge it. What I see quite a lot of is where somebody comes out of denial into acknowledging their reality. I'm in relationship with a narcissist. And then they stay in that story and they stay in that kind of, I'm here and they are there and they are the narcissist. And then they go and study narcissism and they become PhDs in narcissism, and they go to therapy and learn about narcissism, and their whole reality becomes about learning about this narcissist and how to deal with narcissists and how to be in relationship with narcissists or how to get out of relationship with narcissists, and it becomes all about the narcissist. And that's where things become a little bit skewed. According to the law of assumption, and this is what I know to be true, whatever you focus on will expand, and that will become your reality. So that's really great that you become aware that you're in relationship with a narcissist, if this is your story, by the way. If this is not your story, then this is just perhaps of interest. That's the beginning of the new story. That's not the end. That's not where you just learn to be in a relationship with narcissists and figure out techniques and strategies on how to deal with being in a narcissist. That's not it. That just means you've now reached the point where you now have control over consciousness and where you direct it. Now, you're either going to direct it on just focusing and drilling down more into the story of narcissism, or you go, okay, I'm in relationship with a narcissist, but I know that where I direct my attention is what I'm going to get more of. So I'm going to direct it away from that towards what I need to do in order to shift my consciousness to a new state that's going to dissolve that character or recreate that character or bring in a new character that is more loving, more nurturing, more healthy. Now, in order to do that, we have to understand the narcissist story. Now, most people who find themselves in relationship to a narcissist would identify themselves as an empath. An empath is somebody who is really sensitive, picks up on people's energies, and very attuned to their external world and what's happening, and they end up taking on a lot of things, and it becomes quite overwhelming, and they feel like they have to sort of give a lot because they're there for the one, like they're always there for people. They're the ones that people rely on. They help people through really difficult times, but it's often at their own expense. So the character of the narcissist will often attract their direct opposite, which is the empath. However, that's where the illusion is that these two characters are different. They are not different, nor are they bad or wrong. They're just two characters, and they are a perfect match to each other. And the reason why the empath and the narcissist is a perfect match is because it's coming from the same story. It's coming from the same assumption. The assumption is that I am not worthy. I am not worthy of love, I am unlovable, I'm not enough, etc. So that's the basic assumption. Now, these two characters will express this story differently. The narcissist, because they're coming from the place of I'm not loved, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, they will then go out into reality and they'll take power, they'll take love, they'll take anything that they can get that is going to compensate for that void that they're feeling, that they're not even knowing that they're feeling, the assumption they're holding that they're not worthy. Their behavior is very overt. They'll use manipulation, they will use coercion, they might use anger, they will dominate reality in order to take from it. Now, the empath is expressing this story of unworthiness and unlovability from a very different perspective, meaning they have to give everything in order to be loved from reality. So they will give to reality, meaning they'll give to the characters. They'll overgive in order to get love from reality. Both these characters are going out into reality in order to get what they feel is void within them, which is love, which is worthiness, which is this sense of enoughness. So when it comes to narcissists and empaths being a perfect match, it's because one, they're coming from the same assumption, but they are also believing that they don't have it within themselves, going out into reality to get from reality. The narcissist is doing it overtly with the taking. The empath is doing it covertly with the taking, meaning they will overgive in order to get. But both characters are trying to get something from reality. They're trying to take something from reality that they don't feel like they have within themselves. And that is why the narcissist and the empath are a perfect match. They are coming from the place of I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable, therefore I have to take or I have to overgive. Either way, they are two sides of the same coin, and that is why they will be in this never-ending dynamic. So as soon as the empath starts to pull away from the narcissist, meaning as soon as they start to pull back, the narcissist will come in and be loving and like they will give. The empath will be like, oh wow, that's like, oh, that's so beautiful or whatever. They'll be pulled back into the dynamic. So then they'll come back in and they'll start to give and there'll be a little second there where it's beautiful and it's really lovely. And then the narcissist will go back to taking. The empath will go back to giving, and then boom, they're back into the dynamic. And this is a never ending dynamic. This dynamic can go on for years and years and years. It can be extremely painful. And it's generally when you're at like the point where you feel like you can't go on anymore, you feel like you've been like, and it's generally the empaths that go searching for answers. The narcissists aren't the one going searching for answers. They're the ones just going out more into reality and taking what they can. And once they've taken enough, then they're great. They feel really good and they go off into reality. The empath, on the mean hand, they've given everything, haven't gotten anything in return because it hasn't worked, because of course the assumption wins out, which is I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, and it's not enough, I have to give more, and there's nothing left. And so they're the ones who are really struggling, because the narcissist can simply take and continue to fill the void, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same dynamic. It's coming from the place of I'm not enough, I don't have enough, therefore I have to take from reality, whether it's overtly or covertly. It's still the same thing, but it is generally the empaths which go looking for answers, and they're the ones that are usually the ones to break free of the dynamic and shift the dynamic, because they're the ones who are realizing that I've got nothing more to give here. I can't give anything more, otherwise I'm going to die. Like, it's often that serious when you hit rock bottom and you're like, I can't handle this anymore. You're at the bottom of the well, you've got nothing left to give, you've given everything you have and you haven't gotten anything in return, and so there is nothing left, or that's what it appears to be so. With that said, It's really important to acknowledge that that's the dynamic you're in. Once you know you're in that dynamic and you know why you're in the dynamic, the way out of that is to shift the assumption, to change the assumption, and to recognize that you cannot get anything in reality. Reality will never give you what you first can't give yourself. You have to give yourself that love, that validation, that worthiness first in order for reality to reflect it back. And that is why the narcissist empath dynamic, it feels never ending. It feels impossible to get out of, because you are simply you're not changing the story. Nothing is going to change until you change that worthiness story within. Your reality cannot reflect it back, which is why it's just that ongoing cycle. So if you are in that cycle of the narcissist and the empath, then the first thing that you want to do is come back to self, reconnect with self, and give to yourself. So what does that mean? Being attuned to yourself, being attuned to your feelings. So the story is, as an empath, I'm so attuned to everybody else. I'm there for everybody else. I'm available for everybody else. I pick up on everyone's energy, etc. Coming back to yourself and giving all of that to yourself. So giving what you're giving reality, you give to yourself. So loving yourself, nourishing yourself, coming back to you, and then holding the assumption that I am worthy, I am loved, I am enough. Everything that I need is within me. You cannot take from reality. Reality cannot give you what you cannot first give yourself. So I hope that explanation helped understand the dynamic that you're in. The narcissist and the empath are both sides of the same coin, and the coin is the assumption of unworthiness. Once you've acknowledged it, then you have to work on holding the assumptions of worthiness, enoughness, lovability, bringing that in and giving that to yourself first, and then persisting with that new state of consciousness. Persisting with those new assumptions will start to change the way that dynamic is playing out. This is a process of awakening. This is simple, not always easy, and especially in this dynamic, if you've been in this dynamic for a while, it can feel like it's impossible. But I can tell you, having been in that dynamic and not being in that dynamic anymore, because I have changed the assumptions. I've owned the narcissist within me, I've owned the empath, I've owned the unworthiness. I know from personal experience, I do not experience those dynamics anymore. I can recognize them, I can see them, and as soon as I see them, then I know that I've just slipped into that old assumption, and then I know what to do. So I then become very present to myself. I become very available to myself. I start to encourage myself. I say beautiful things to myself. I hold myself. Like, I do whatever I need to do in order to feel the love and to feel the worthiness that I've suddenly slipped into not believing. I then quickly shift into I am worthy, I am loved, I am enough, I have everything I need within me. There's nothing I need from reality. I got it all here. Reality is just my reflection. So I'm just going to work here on the cause of what's being reflected back in my reality. And that's my game. That's the game. That is the game. And that's what you have to start doing if you are in that dynamic. Please remember, as always, you are the amazing creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. Whatever you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you, assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. And this is my wish, my vision, and my prayer for you and for me too. Thank you so much for listening and for being here. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd love to have you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.